Catchup podcast. We're back for another week of all your non-league football action in Scotland. I'm joined as ever by Chris. Chris, how are you doing?
Good as always. A lot to cover this week, actually. Back to league action around the league, so looking forward to chatting to you, Ben.
Plenty to talk about. We've also had some Lowland League games. We've had some Western Scotland League, Eastern Scotland games, and even had the Scottish Junior Cup, which we'll touch on a little bit. But we all know that we don't really care about the Scottish Junior Cup that much. But as a Buffs fan who isn't in the juniors anymore, then we'll still cover it because it's only football and there's some of our teams are involved, so I'm sure we'll get onto that. But we'll start in the Lowland League like we always do, and we'll start with the game between Gallifrey Rovers and East Kilbride. It was a 5-4 victory for East Kilbride. I believe East Kilbride were down 2-1 at half time. Neil McLaughlin scored just about on the stroke of half time to pull one back, but East Kilbride got the result in the end. One of those games, I think, for me, that obviously East Kilbride have to win every game in terms of trying to make a challenge for the league. And we maybe thought that team like East Kilbride in the past would have maybe struggled to get that result, going down 2-1 to Gala. Gala obviously had a bit of form as well just now. But they got the result, grinded it out, 5-4, obviously a lot of goals. Cammy goals on the score sheet as ever too, Chris.
It looked like a one for the neutrals, obviously, but Kevin Rukvitz said it was the sort of perfect conditions for football. As you say, Gala were on form. East Kilbride obviously still wanting to be up there in terms of a top team. So it was 9 goals. You can't complain at that for your money.
About £8 or something.
Yeah. Jamie Docherty obviously getting a goal as well, which is good because he's the new man at East Kilbride, and I think it was a bit of a scare late on, obviously for East Kilbride as well because the game was so close. But they've sought out. Fair play to Gala as well. We've kind of, you've touched on that they've hit a bit of form, and that will give some confidence going forward. Even though it's a loss at the end of the day, it's a difficult one. But that's what you want at non-league. If you're getting to a game, you want that sort of action-packed game. Although I think Kevin Rukvitz would have, in fact, both managers, probably Martin Scott as well, probably would have preferred something a wee bit better defensively, but certainly in ways of goals, you neither can play.
Yeah, I think from Gala's perspective, you're going to be devastated to lose that game after scoring 4 goals. I mean, 4 goals in one match, and you don't come out the winner there. That must be hard to take from their perspective. But as you say, they can be buoyed by that performance. I would have thought. Certainly going forward, I don't haven't seen any highlights or anything like that as yet. But yeah, Gala are a team that I say we've talked about going about the business quite quietly. Probably one of those teams that we think about have been in that kind of they'll be fine category that we've talked about before. In the middle, they're not going to challenge and not going to get relegated. I can't remember what cups they're still in, but if they are, but certainly from UK's perspective, it's just about getting those results and getting them on the board, and because they obviously are making making a run for that. I guess, in my opinion, second place in the league. However, maybe the third place in the league, given that Celtic B are now sitting second top, 5 points behind Rangers.
It's looking more and more that way. Rangers B and Celtic B look like they're flying, and we're halfway through the season, I know, but I don't see any team really stopping either Rangers B or Celtic B, other than themselves. Maybe probably switch between Celtic B and Rangers B. It's going to be very difficult to overthrow them, if you will. And I think you called it early, Ben. I know you love your receipts, but I think it's going to be really tough to catch them. Rangers B are way too good. I mean, we'll get into their game, but too good. They're coming at the start of the season. They were, maybe a group of really good technical young boys and that. But I would say probably a positive on the Rangers B and Celtic B and probably Hearts B as well. That that these guys are. The experience of the Lowland League is definitely striving them forward, and we've seen it in a few of the results.
Yeah, I think that's why they've been brought in to this league. Well, from their perspective, is to go and find out what it's like to try and win a trophy and win a league and play week in, week out consistently over a 30-odd game season. That's that's the reason. That's the bit of the development that probably you find is missing from the development football side of things. I think even we see it from from the buff side of things with our 20s. When our 20s team players step up to play in the first team, you see that gap in terms of physicality, maybe knowledge of the game in terms of how they're setting up and things like that. And that's what is the problem across the whole of development of football. A lot of teams that will be in the same boat where they don't have these players that can step up in Rangers, and Celtic B will be doing that because that's what they want from their players in the event that a player's good enough to step up into their first team. I think from what I've heard, like both teams play the exact same way as the first team in terms of style and tactics, etc. Certainly, I know that from Celtic B, and having seen some stuff from them that they play the exact same way as Ange Postecoglou wants to see them play. And it's so that if they have to go up to the first team because they're good enough or there's an injury crisis or whatever, then they know what their job is and they know how to play and they're well drilled and tuned in, and that's only benefiting the teams, the B teams, because you can see from the league table they're both sitting first and second, and they're obviously much better than the teams that are in the Lowland League. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out because we potentially could have the third place team in the league getting promoted. It's going to be an interesting one. It's an odd one, I think. I think I watched this space for me, I think, on that front. Jumping back to Friday night, we missed the Broomhill versus Civil Service Strollers game. Broomhill back to winning ways with a 4-1 victory over Civil. They'll just be delighted to get a win on the board and back to it because obviously they've been a bit kind of 3 defeats in the bounce up until that point. I think no wins in 4. They were going through that tougher spell that they obviously went through a great spell of winning pretty much every week, and I think that's what we're seeing from Broomhill is that kind of the consistency thing for me. I think is quite noticeable where they go on these runs of winning a lot of games and then they go on kind of a spell of losing again and they don't know how to get out of it, and then they finally get the win. So maybe it's just the time for Broomhill to kick on and start making a run up the table because they're probably one of the teams that we thought at the start of the season were going to challenge and would be right up there. But the last few weeks have just kind of seen them fall away a little bit.
Yeah, they left it late against Civil Service Strollers. I think a lot of the goals were on the counter, obviously, while Strollers were kind of pushing for the win. It's a bit of a tough one for Broomhill because obviously they played kind of midweek as well against Rangers B. They took a really sore one there, and then obviously playing Friday night is probably not ideal for, after or maybe it is actually. Maybe after you're jumping straight back into a game, so it's maybe helped them out in another way, I suppose. Probably not in terms of fitness, but there was a lot of guys. Obviously, I think Brock Watson came back in that wasn't playing against Rangers B, and there's probably maybe a few others. But it's a good result for Broomhill. Whether they have enough to sort of chase down Celtic B and Rangers B, I'm not sure. I don't think. I think we're getting to a point in the season where obviously Rangers B have just pumped them. I don't see Rangers B or Celtic B losing too many more games at this point. So it's going to be tough. So it really is all about that second spot, third spot, as you say, Ben. Just in reality, I don't think I've said it many times. Sorry to people that are listening in that don't like B teams, but for me, I think they're going to be the 2 top teams in this league come the end of the season. But caveat, obviously, there's a long way to go till the end of the season, I suppose.
We're going to sound like B team fanboys, and we're going to be hated by everyone and within the lower tiers of Scottish football at this rate.
Just being realistic, eh?
I think 100%, Chris. I think, like you said, I called it out at the beginning of the season. I think I said that one of them, I think, was probably going to win the league. It looked like Rangers B for a while. Certainly still think it is Rangers B from a league perspective, but Celtic B have obviously had a wee bit of a tougher spell and had games to catch up on, and they've done that, and they're still doing that. But from Broomhill's perspective, I think if you're being realistic, I think the thing here is that you can look at it and go, like that third spot is the promotion spot right now. If you discount Rangers B and Celtic B, I think like Stirling Uni did a few weeks back when they said they were like top of the table or something like that. I remember that happening. If you just think of the league is that third spot on the table, Broomhill only 6 points behind. East Kilbride played the same number of games, so by no means is it a done deal. And East Kilbride are going to be that team. Trinent are sitting there fourth on the same points as East Kilbride. Stirling Uni, they're a team a game in hand and can catch East Kilbride as well. So no one's out of it. I think from probably you could even argue from like the likes of maybe Gala up to EK. So Gala, Broomhill, Civil, Spartans, Stirling Uni, Trinent, East Kilbride. Any one of them could get promoted, really. Let's be honest.
You know what's scary though? I think there's a bit of a difference from the B teams this season in the sense that come January they'll probably loan out a few players, but we're seeing boys that probably didn't play at the start of the season that are now coming into the team. So I think the plans are already there for Rangers B to, if they are going to loan out a few players, I mean, boys are already stepping up into that team and doing well, and they're still quality players. So I don't think they're going to be affected too much by if other boys get loaned out. We've already seen it so far. Obviously, we mentioned Kane Richie Hostler last week, one of their key players. The concerning thing is if they still had these boys at the B teams and not loaned out, I mean, it would be even more scary. But it's not looking great. In terms of your league, where non-member clubs potentially winning your league, it's not good. It's a bit embarrassing, and sadly, at the moment, I've not seen anything to change my mind that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that looks like the way it is, and for me, it's just a case of for those teams just to focus on trying to get that promotion spot because that's what we're playing for, really, in the Lowland League. Where as much as winning the league is a nice thing and a great achievement for the players. Is anyone going to really remember the EK team that won the league, for example, if they were to win the league? Probably not. Are you going to remember the EK team that got promoted? Absolutely, because they'll be in League 2 by that point. I'm just using that as an example. By the way, folks, don't get too upset that I'm saying that.
Maybe me, because I kind of have to, but
Chris is nailed on. He's got EK on the slip, so that's definitely one for him. But yeah, I think the focus is promotion. Any team coming into the Lowland League as well are going to be in that same boat. I mean, if Rangers and Celtic B, for example, are here to stay, then getting promoted is all you want to do. Is get in that league, get out of that league, and get to League 2. That's the promised land, apparently. So.
And not to put any more dampers on things. It starts really negatively, isn't it, Ben? Today's podcast, but Brecon City, they're a quality side. I think this is the best chance for a Highland League team to go up to the SPFL in years because of how strong that Brecon City team is. So, yeah, I think it's going to be tough. Honestly, I think you've got to get past the. Just there's so many things how difficult it is to get out of the league, but it's the way it is, isn't it? It's the same in the west of Scotland, east of Scotland, south of Scotland to try and get up to the Lowland League. So yeah, you can't moan too much, can you?
No, but I think it's important to keep banging that drum and trying to hold people to account in that situation, because I think we all want to see it change, and we know that it's not going to come quickly in terms of the change, but we're seeing it more and more every week when we're playing these cup competitions where the teams below are actually much better than what's happening. We've seen it with the likes of Darvel, etc. last week, and I know we talked about Darvel and I'm trying not to do it again. But just for anyone who actually commented to me last week about the podcast title, I'm no a pie guy. That has no reflection on my views on a certain owner of a football club.
Did you get stick for that? That was actually me that came up with it because you said something about a pie guy earlier. It's nothing to do with Darvel.
It's got nothing to do with Darvel, yeah. So I don't know if they actually listened to the podcast or they just seen the title like it's some sort of clickbait title. And I thought
it was literally said.
I know. We always do it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a quote from one of us, and I had been talking about my weekend in St Andrews,
yeah.
where I had a nice chicken and chorizo pie, and that was what it was referred to. It was
I was not to do with
absolutely no
Darvel. Aye.
context at all to to, to Darvel.
I wish I was
Or
that smart, by the way, but no, it was literally because you said it
it
in the
was
earlier
funny. I
message.
got a few texts, put it that way, from people in different couple of group chats, for example, came up with querying my.
I never even thought that. That's how innocent
I
it
didn't
was.
either until somebody messaged me like Tuesday and was like, "Is that about Darvel?" I was like, I didn't actually know what we were talking about at first, and I went back and looked at what you, because I don't always see the title because when you share it, it doesn't always come up
Yeah,
on your Twitter. But I was like, nah, it's just if you listen to the podcast, it's about me eating
yeah.
pies basically because I know I'm shaped like I eat pies, but I'm not really massive on them. So anyway,
That's genius, by the way. Whoever
that's
came
just
up with
a segue that came into my head there when I mentioned Davo. But yeah, going back to my point about the pyramid and all that, we've seen week in, week in, week out almost now where teams are better than others. The pyramid isn't correct by any stretch of the imagination, and it's not correct even going further than League One, League Two. I mean, you probably look at some League One teams that we think are probably Championship teams, and League Two teams that we probably think are League One teams, for example. So the whole pyramid needs addressed, and that's not going to happen. So we just have to stick with what's in front of us. But let's get back onto the football rather than talking about the politics and bureaucracy that dampens um, the product that we have. Next game then, Cumbernauld Colts 1, Spartans 1, draw. Probably a good result for Cumbernauld Colts. Spartans are decent. They've been, although I guess a couple of draws now and defeats. Cumbernauld Colts getting our team kind of up and down, but it's a bit of a meh. Is it a game? There's not much to talk about. I don't think here, Chris.
If I'm being really harsh and I've got my Spartans cap on, I think that's a terrible result. It's not good enough. It really isn't. Good to see Bradley White in amongst the scoring. Obviously, I've highlighted him as being a sort of key player lately. He was in the team of the month, obviously, and he's doing really well in a sort of new role. But Colts, in fairness to them, I quite like the Colts, and it's a really decent draw on their part, obviously. And then obviously Billy Mortimer got their goal, who's recently came back from East Kilbride, and I guess it was kind of like a swap deal with Edge McLaren when East Kilbride took them, so it was kind of a swap of players.
Swap deal.
I'm assuming it was.
Isn't he?
I was assuming it's part of that, obviously, maybe. But yeah, it was a good result for the Colts. But I'm really, if I've got my Spartans cap on, I'm not happy with that result at all.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I think they're one of the teams that you look at of kind of pushing for that third spot, if we're going to call it that from now on. I think that should be a winnable game for them, and they should be going to Broadwood and getting a result. And I know it's all ifs, buts, and maybes, but if they had, they'd have put them right in amongst it with EK and been went above them in the table. So yeah, they'll be disappointed, I'm sure, but I'm sure they'll be fine. I think that's the thing. I'll say that every week, but there's a lot of football we played. They're in that pack that I just talked about, potential promotion suitors, if you like. So I'm sure they'll bounce back at some point and they'll kick on. Next one then, Berwick Rangers 4, Dalbeattie Start 0. Tough day at the office for Dalbeattie, another defeat. They just don't seem to have been able to get any sort of bounce at all. I think they're struggling, still toiling at the bottom. I mean, they're only 2 points behind Edinburgh Uni. That probably gives them a little bit of hope, but they need to find something and start doing it probably quite quickly, as far as I'm concerned.
It's been a horror show really early on there. I mean, Berwick were 3-0 up within 11 minutes or something like that, and the game's kind of been over, at that point. But it's fair play to Berwick, a really decent win. I know we look at Dalbeattie and say, they're probably the weakest team in the league at the moment, which is true. But at the end of the day, you can only beat who's in front of you, and I think it's a really good sort of lift for Berwick, who I guess we've kind of mentioned it. They've kind of fell out a wee bit of favour Thought they were going to do well at the start of the season. They've probably not been as good as we thought they were. Don't know exactly what's happening with them. I think they're just they're not one of the teams that we can really touch on too much because the results are so inconsistent. But that's the issue when you have a team like Berwick that they need to hit a wee bit of form, I think, before we take them a wee bit more seriously in terms of being a higher up table, because they should be. They've got the quality there, but it's just not happened for whatever reason so far this season. But at the end of the day, I think it was the last season that they did hit a bit of form after Christmas, and then they did sort of rise up the table. So I think they need to do a wee bit of what Gala have done recently in terms of getting a bit of form together and a few wins. But at the moment, it's kind of meh, isn't it?
I guess Berwick are focusing on the league, Chris.
Yeah,
I think is what's happening here. I think that statement becomes even more ridiculous as the league goes on. I think it's a weird one for me, that, and I haven't seen any benefit of that at all. Been out of cup competitions from Berwick's perspective, and they're just sitting, like you say, a bit meh in the middle, not going to do anything of note, not going to get relegated, and are just going to probably just season's going to peter out for them. I think if you're a Berwick fan, that's going to be like probably a real tough watch for the rest of the season, knowing that you're not really in any cup competitions, you're not going to win the league, you're not going to get relegated. There's nothing to be excited about, I think.
To be fair to Buchanan, obviously he's been in a bit of a goal scoring form, but I'm really disappointed in this sense, because they were my dark horse, but there was a lot of players that I felt really stepped up last season at Berwick, and I've just not seen it, and it's really disappointing. I'm not obviously putting all the blame on the players, because there's obviously been other distractions with them, and I'm not 100% sure what Stuart Malcolm's doing in terms of management and whatever, but it's just a disappointing, and I probably feel I feel it's probably shared amongst the Berwick fans also.
Next game then, Bonus at United 0, Rangers B 4. I think
covered that really.
Plenty already about Rangers B. They're a great side. They're going to win the league as far as I'm concerned. They're consistent. They've got the players. The one thing I think you touched on, I think will be interesting, is that the fact that the players might go out on loan. You look at the likes of Zach Lovelace, who is a quality player. We can see that. I've heard some stuff, or seen some stuff online that he's been training with the first team in terms of since McGill came in. Is that maybe something that might affect them? Yeah, Zach Lovelace, if he goes into the first team squad and maybe isn't featuring for the B team, will be a big miss. But they have quality players all over the place.
Well, Robbie Ears just came in, and Connor Young, who's not really been getting a game, is immense. I mean, the talent, that's why I have no worries in terms of January. I don't know if it affects Celtic B as much, or maybe more, I would say, but they're just the boys coming up either way to replace the guys going out alone are just as good. Maybe not so much in terms of how far they are in terms of their progress or potential, but certainly good enough to be playing Lowland League, certainly.
I think I've seen Cy Ferry talking about it after their game on. Did
they put an interview? Oh, I'm surprised at that.
It wasn't an interview. It was on a vlog.
Okay.
Blair McAnally's vlog.
Oh yeah, okay.
Blair does the home and away thing. I watched that this morning about the open goal game, and he'd mentioned Cy Ferry had mentioned Rangers B, and the fact that the players that come in were like 17-year-olds who are still like top quality players. So that's the thing that will always be there with those guys. The individuals themselves are great players. They're just needing that team mentality and playing maybe in that more physical game. And so far, from the players that have come up, they don't look out of place at all.
No.
In fact, they look probably too good for the Lowland League. Let's be honest about that. They are decent. I think it's Aaron Lyle. You read about him quite a bit, isn't he? He's a player.
Could point out all the Rangers B and all the Celtic B players. There's a few of them that I like, obviously, but yeah, I mean, Aaron Lyle is another one that's probably not played as much, and then he comes in and he's bagging goals against Broomhill, a top Lowland League side. So
I'm going to need to go and see this. They're going to need to go and see them, Rangers B and Celtic B, and see what it's all about, because the season's ticking over. I still haven't actually
Might be your last chance this season. You never know.
It's true. Might need to get along to a game and see what it's all about. But yeah, I mean, let's not be a Rangers B Celtic B podcast for too much longer, and we'll quickly talk about Celtic B 5, Edinburgh University 0. Routine victory, I think, from my perspective when it comes to Celtic B. Edinburgh Uni, another team struggling, absolutely toiling at the bottom. As I say, I was going to say they're fortunate that Derby are there, but really they're probably not. I mean, they're looking over their shoulder, I think, for me, and 2 points behind puts them out of games. It could come down to those games, the games that we played against Derby, that could decide the season. I think for both of those teams, that could be like a cup final at this point. If both teams struggle the way they're struggling, then it's going to come down to that one game where it'll be winner takes all almost, I think, for me.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Edinburgh Uni, and we've mentioned a lot of the Rangers B players. I know we're not wanting to cover B teams too much, but obviously Ben Quinn, really good player. Ben Summers, a good player. Bruno Davidson's one I really like in terms of that Celtic B team. Adam Brooks as well. I mean, bursting with quality, and it's boys that should probably be playing League 2, League 1, potentially even Championship. And to be fair, I would probably expect more from Celtic B. I'm not going to lie, against Edinburgh Uni. Maybe another. I mean, I think it was Hearts B that done Edinburgh Uni 9-0. So
that's right.
Yeah, so Celtic B probably expected at least 9. But with all due respect to Edinburgh Uni, it's going to be another tough one. And I think you're right. It's going to be a cup final towards the end of the season compared against Dalbeattie. So.
Let's just get the B teams completely out of the way for this podcast. Trinent 3, Hearts B 2. Trinent going about their business quite well. They're doing all right. Hearts B were 2-0 up. Come back and won 3-2. All the goals come in the second half. Your man Nicky Reid on the score sheet, Chris.
Yeah, I think he's been played more as a sort of a striker, because he's always I always see him as a bit of a left winger, kind of inside forward tough. So he is getting played a wee bit differently, because obviously Colin Nish I think he plays a wee bit more narrow. But it's a really good comeback, because Hearts B have been the team on form in the Lowland League. And one thing I will say, we kind of covered that a wee bit last week, but Stephen Naismith obviously said that, I mean, half the team was 16-year-olds. So Hearts B have done really well to get the lead in that game. They'll be disappointed to lose, but Trinent are a top team. We keep saying it, and it's a really good result for them to come back from 2-0 down and win that game. Probably again, we're more like the B team podcast this week. We've been praising them too much, but it's an excellent result for Trinent, and it keeps them towards the top, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're that team, one of those teams that I'm going to refer to in the pack, shall we say. They're right on level with EK, and I mean, got to hand it to Colin Nish. He came in and I think his second game in charge, I think, was against us at Coen Rangers in the Scottish Cup, and that was obviously a sore defeat for them. But since then, they've absolutely bounced on and went and just rocketed up the table, been able to focus on the league. He's probably had a bit of time with the players and brought some players in and got his own stamp in the squad, and it looks like he's doing a great job there. There's no reason why Trinent can't be that in that team in the playoff. Like you mentioned earlier, Brecon are obviously going to be that team that are going to be the other side of the playoff, but there's no reason why Trinent can't do it. I've seen a few teams that are capable, and from what I've seen of Trinent since the game against us, they look like a team that have just totally turned that around, and they look like they're going to be right up there for the rest of the season. Next game then we'll go on to is Gretna 1, Cowdenbeath. Positive result for Gretna. They'll be delighted about that. They were obviously on a bit of a slump before Saturday, and obviously around the bottom of the table with Cowdenbeath, but they're well out of it in terms of the relegation now. I think obviously I had said plenty, and I've been held accountable for my receipts plenty of times, and I expect to get into have a poor season. I mean, they haven't had a great season by any manner of means, but they're out of that relegation dogfight. They're going to be safe. They're going to be just another team like the Berwicks and Cumbernaulds, etc. who are just kind of meh and just going to see out the season when not a lot to play for.
It's a good result in the sense that Cowdenbeath have kind of picked up. It keeps Gretna above Cowdenbeath, I think, in the league. So, good win. I think they just passed them off the park, I read. So, Cowdenbeath, I've mentioned a wee bit to them. They're not a fancy team by all accounts. They're a solid team. That's why I think when you see them win, it's usually only by 1 or 2 goals. And when they lose, I think it's much the same at the moment. So it's a really good result for Gretna, actually. But I'm not expecting much from either side now. We'll wait and see how it goes with Gretna. But I always feel that the funny thing with Gretna is they could lose a few games and then they win one, and then everyone, it's like it papers over the cracks. Like, oh, it's great. Oh, we're back on form now, and then they go out next week and lose again, and it's like it's really a strange mentality. And I'm not getting on at Gretna fans. It's just like get a wee bit of form before you get your expectations up. Basically, you know what I mean.
Next game then is Calais Braves 1, East Stirlingshire 1. Sandy Clark's first game in charge and a point against Calais Braves, Chris.
Yeah, it was the old guard, Conor Green. I think is he still captain? I think he's captain still. Who got the opener for East Stirlingshire? A really decent performance against the Calais Braves team that could go out and sort of really put the pressure on teams sometimes, and I think they did. I heard Ross Connolly had a really good game, a few good saves to keep the Braves at bay. But just into the second half, it was a Mark Kelly penalty that they got the equaliser for Braves, and it's we've seen Mark Kelly actually step up at the spot so many times this season. I don't actually know. I need to actually ask when the last time he missed a penalty, because he's certainly been getting a bit known.
Chris.
What?
Absolutely put the hex on him there, haven't you?
Yeah,
absolutely hexed the boy. That is unfair. That is the official catch-up curse has been placed on.
He's good enough. He'll get over it. But
if Mark Kelly hits a penalty in the next couple of weeks and misses a penalty, we can all blame Chris. That's important.
His form in the scoring penalties is I don't actually remember the last time he missed one, but he's certainly got a few goals from this spot this season. You're probably right. I probably have hexed him, but at the end of the day, we've talked him up enough. So let's see if we can get through the wee curse there, the hex.
That's it. I feel quite bad for him right now, but
good result. Good result, I guess.
100%. Yeah, I think obviously first game in charge for Sandy Clark at Shire, and a team that are looking to try and probably regroup and rebuild, and another team in that meh category that we keep referring to that probably just kind of in that pack, not the pack, but remember the pack is the promotion chasing people.
Yeah.
The meh people are everyone else.
The promotion pack.
Everyone else that aren't Edinburgh United or Derby. That's the splits within the Lowland League. Let's be honest. But yeah, I'm sure Sandy Clark's an experienced manager. I think we talked about it last week. I'm a bit surprised that
said that a few times actually.
got the job, but he's got the experience. He'll have contacts. He'll be able to bring some players in maybe that wouldn't have been able to get before because the odd guy might owe him a favour or things like that. They might be able to, or somebody likes his training or someone likes him as a manager that might just be the edge between going somewhere else for an extra 20 quid a week or something, So it might be that they might improve that squad over the next few weeks and months, but we'll keep an eye on what's happening over at Shire. But yeah, I think
here's a weird one I've noticed. It seems to be a bit of a flavour of the month. I don't know if it's just because it's December coming into January, but a lot of short-term loans, like literally month-long loans. I don't understand that. It's like take them for the 6 months or whatever it would be, but It's maybe covering for injuries or whatever. In fairness, but it's just I've seen a lot of particularly the Lowland League clubs do that. Like, oh, we've got such and such on loan for a month. I just don't understand what a month does, unless there's probably maybe an injury or something like that, or a suspension, I guess. But it's just, to me, it's pointless, really. Maybe I'm being too harsh there, Ben.
I suppose I think it probably is for that reason, for that kind of injury cover, for things like that, that maybe teams are struggling. Suspensions are obviously going to kick in as well for a lot of teams, and it could just be about that. But maybe players or teams are not wanting players to go to teams because they can maybe get a bigger move or a better move in January on loan, perhaps. I don't know if a short-term loan maybe makes it more straightforward for them to do that, but I mean, it's something. It's quite handy for the teams that are picking up players that are able to come in. But actually, it seems like a new, probably not a new thing, but it feels like that. It seems to have been a lot in the last few weeks. Right, we'll move on then to the Scotland Premier League. There was a few results here that we are probably quite surprised about. We'll start with Dundonald Bluebell. They lost to Hillbeath Hawthorns 2-1, Chris.
Yeah, the Hawes left it late in the Fife derby. These games are always quite fiery between the two. Ross Alum, obviously, a brace there, winning right at the end. Sore one, I would say, for Dundonald. A lot of sort of Kelty connections, obviously, the big rivalry. Probably, I would say Kelty and the Hawes are obviously the biggest rivalry, but certainly there is a little bite between Dundonald and Hillbeath as well. So Stephen Husband, obviously the manager of Dundonald, probably wouldn't want to get beat by the Hawes, obviously being a Kelty legend. But Ross Alum, we know how good he is. They've won it at the death, and it's a really good result in the Fife derby.
Talking about Fife derbies, Chris, we had Inverkeith and Hillfieldsmith 1, Crossgates 0.
It's an excellent result, considering that the Swifts have had a bit of a change recently. Obviously, Pat Scullion resigned as manager. Greg Spence, the big heavy hitter forwards, obviously left as well. Really good result because Crossgates are a really decent team, and I love Dalgety Bay Sports Centre. I have a bit of an affinity to that because that's the pitch I've probably played on more than anything when I was growing up. I used to be up there every day, obviously just playing football after high school and whatever. So there's a bit of a love there. But yeah, fair play to the Swifts. Kind of a bit of a new era for them, and they've got a really good sort of local victory over Crossgates, who are, again, I think quite high up in the east of Scotland. So really decent result for them.
Next game then, Pennycook 1, Musselburgh Athletic 1. Musselburgh is a team I've seen play in the last few weeks in the South Challenge Cup. Good side, and I think you pointed out your man Nathan Evans to me beforehand, and I don't think we've actually spoken about him, but he did a great game that day, but a draw for Pennycook. But
yeah, I'll be disappointed for Pennycook, but they're lacking goals at the moment. I saw an article, obviously, Stephen McLeish says they need a wee bit more firepower. I think obviously Aidan Welsh left to go to Trinent, so it's a sore one, but they're still up there. I think the main talking point from that really is the fact that Musselburgh have really crept up the league. I think there are 2 games in hand, and they could go second if they win them both. So really happy for Craig Stevenson and the guys there. Grinchy, I like him. So yeah, Musselburgh, I think, are certainly one we've not really talked loads about, apart from when the Buffs have played them in the South Challenge. But I think they're a team on the rise. Obviously, a really good coach, a really young coach that's came in there. I'll be keeping a close eye on Musselburgh, I think.
Yeah, I thought they were a decent side from that game, as I say, go back to the Buffs game. But like I mentioned before, Nathan Evans is a good striker. He's a guy you can rely on for goals, I think, as well. And he's one of those players that he's probably one of those players that you think of, and he's playing probably below his level, and for whatever reason, you think he definitely could be doing a job in probably League Two or the Lowland League for me. And he's a great talent, and I wouldn't be shocked if maybe you see some teams coming for him in January to maybe pick up a goal threat, and that might affect him. But he might stick around. He might be enjoying his football at Musselburgh. I know he'd been there before, and he he's done some good stuff there in the past. So yeah, I think Musselburgh will do all right. As I say, the game in hand are probably quite crucial, but let's not forget we're going to come on to Linlithgow Rose, the team that are, for me, well out of sight in terms of the league. I don't see anyone else chasing them down as such, and it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the teams do.
Just keep your cameras away from Nathan.
My camera, yeah, absolutely. I didn't put mine out that day just in case. I firmly left him in safe positions, so he didn't affect him. Thankfully. Moving on to the final game then within the East Scotland Premier League, and a surprising victory. I think we'll definitely call that. It's Lothian Thistle, Hutchinson Vale 4, Linlithgow Rose 2. Still top of the table, still 5 points clear. Hutchie Vale, a team towards the bottom. No one expected this, but it's a great 3 points for them to get that on the board. Looking at it from a personal perspective, we've got Lothian Thistle, Hutchinson Vale in the South Challenge Cup next round. Of course, they've got to go out and beat a team like Linlithgow Rose a few weeks before. In fact, it's not a few weeks before. We're playing them in January, so it could be a totally different story. But this could be the start of a wee run for them, and obviously no mugs if they're getting results against Linlithgow Rose.
They're, it's kind of disappointing because I did actually fancy. I looked at that game and did fancy it, but I'm so much of a bit of a fair weather fan at the moment. But Edinburgh, obviously, Christmas market and all this sort of stuff on. I do not want to really go to Edinburgh if I can help it. If it's not that, it's obviously Christmas market, then it's the rugby and all this sort of stuff, and it's just a nightmare to. I absolutely hate people, so. A bit of a should have said that obviously on a podcast that people listen to, but I did look at that one mainly to see Linlithgow, but it was Hutchie Vale that have came out on top there, and they have been on a bit of form previously before that. They've picked up a wee bit. Obviously Ben and Joe Viola, the brothers, getting a couple of goals in that match. Probably disappointing for Linlithgow, really. Massive disappointing because Hutchie, we said at the start of the season, they'll be a team that struggles. I think they're just above the sort of relegation zone now, but a wee bit maybe clear, obviously, after picking up. But it's a bit of a shocker. A great result, but a shocker for Linlithgow Rose. We have to be fair that we praise them when they're good, but that's a bad one, isn't it?
I mean, every team can have a blip, so I don't think that by any means it's going to have a massive effect on them over the course of the season. Certainly, and I think they'll still easily win that Premier Division. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So
they're still 6 points clear, I think.
5 points clear, yeah. So
5.
Played the same number of games as the likes of Socky, but I think they're just too good for. The only problem they might have is they're still in the cup competitions, and they might start to maybe affect the squad a little bit when you're playing a lot of cup games and a lot of league games. But I personally don't see them not winning the league for me now at this point in the season. Okay, moving on then to the West Scotland Premier League. We'll start on Friday night. We'll touch on Darvel. We've already mentioned them already today, but Armidale 1, Darvel 2. 2 men sent off before half time. Chris McGowan, I'm not too sure what he actually got sent off for, and Callum Graham, the source of the majority of Beda's goals this season, sent off in the just before half time for, I believe there's a stamp on another one of the Darvel players. And I think when you're Meda, to go down to, when you're already kind of got the upper hand in terms of Darvel had the man sent off, and your forward makes a stupid, petulant decision like that to get sent off, and as I say, a guy that is the source of a lot of their goals. If you look at the goal tables, I think he's out in front of a medal by about 5 or 6 goals or something like that. He's got an absolute barrel, and he's a great player, a great forward, and he's been a great signing. I think probably the only good thing that Spenny and Lat have done it Meta was signing Callum Graham, and they'll be disappointed because they were on a good run. I think that was the other thing, they had went on a bit of a winning streak up to that point, but they were up against that, obviously we know, a quality side in Darvel. they're a team that are not look like they're stopping. You can look at the Darvel squad. I know I've talked about plenty, but the Darvel bench on Friday night was utterly ridiculous. They had Jordan Kirkpatrick, Davy Syme, Thomas Riley, Craig Moore, Jamie Glasgow, and Craig Truesdale all on the bench. Like that was our subs. Like those guys walk into pretty much any first team in the Premier League, and that's who you've got
In
coming
the
off your
Lowland League.
bench. In the Lowland League,
And
yeah,
League Two, I don't
League
know.
Two. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Those guys are all quality players. I know maybe like Saimi still coming back from injury and kind of eased into it, but obviously Darvel, and they're going to go probably on and do pretty well in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some sort of I saw Meda put out a statement of some sort of unacceptable behaviour as well. It's a Friday night. We have. I don't know if it's. I guess it's the Friday night. I guess that's the danger of the Friday night games. Where fans have probably had a drink in them, and I don't know what the situation was, but I have seen not so much at Broomhill, but certainly in the West games. Not to pick on you guys, Ben, but certainly there has been more incidents on a Friday night than probably a Saturday afternoon. But I don't know if alcohol's involved. Obviously, I would just be speculating. But I did notice that, and I don't know how much of a talking point it is because I don't really know what happened, but certainly enough that the Meda have put out a statement saying that they're kind of looking into to whatever it was in terms of compliance and responsibility of fans and code of conduct and all that sort of stuff. But we'll keep an eye on that. I think.
I totally missed that. I didn't even see that at all. And you mentioned that, I just googled it and or looked up on Facebook, and yeah, it seems to be a bit of trouble. I mean, I probably don't want to say too much. I've been there. I've been on the receiving end, shall we say, of abuse and been hit by missiles, etc. Personally at Meda Park, so it doesn't surprise me, to be honest. But I think you're right. I think the Friday night thing can be a bit of a gamble, and I think as a club you have to prepare for that. If that's what if the plan is to have a Friday night game to get a bigger crowd because you want it to be more of a kind of night out kind of atmosphere, because that's what's going to happen. I think.
Yeah.
We have seen it as a club as well. I think they played Kilburnie. Don't get me wrong, we were playing Kilburnie, and Kilburnie have obviously got a bit of a history of poor behaviour. But largely, I mean, our Friday night games have been all right. I haven't seen an awful lot of trouble. In fact, I can't even think of any trouble apart from the Kilburnie game aside, where there's been any major problems. I mean, you get the odd guy or girl pretty wrecked, man. That happens, and people try to smuggle in drink, and that just happens at this level on a Saturday. Doesn't matter, yeah, exactly. And you sort of solve that, and it's something you try and police and try and stop, but not everyone's going to get.
To be fair, that happens at Ibrox, Celtic Park. There's guys with big jackets on with a ball in their shaker or whatever it is. So
absolutely, but yeah, Darvel doing what they do, just getting wins on the board. Probably a good time to talk about the Scottish Cup draw that we had the other day, Chris. Darvel drawing Aberdeen, Drumchapel drawing Elgin. It's a good draw for Darvel in the sense of a Premiership team coming down to Ayrshire. I think there's a bit of debate whether that game will be played at Recreation Park or it will be played elsewhere, given the size of the ground and I think from a licensing perspective, you can't move the game just to make more money and get more fans in. I don't think it works like that. I think it's a decision based on the kind of police, the council, health and safety, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know an awful lot about Darvel's licence, particularly, but from experience going to Recreation Park, for example, it's only got one entrance. It's probably going to be quite a struggle to segregate, because you'll have to do that with a team like Aberdeen coming down. They'll probably be looking to bring a decent crowd. They probably only get a few tickets. I don't think they'll get many tickets because they'll have a lot of. I think it's only you can only give a percentage out to the away club, for example. But It's a decent draw. Getting to test themselves against a Premier League team, I think they'll get pumped personally, but who knows? It's a game of football. We've seen it recently with like Paul versus Ayr. The gap didn't seem an awful lot in that regard, and yeah, that'll be an interesting tie, I think.
Yeah, and we've not mentioned them this week because they were off, but obviously still on uni as well. They got Dundee United away at Tannadice.
Of course, yeah.
So these are the cup ties you want, obviously at non-league. Memories made and all that sort of stuff. Playing at the against Premier teams. I'm assuming most lads would have wished for a Rangers, Celtic, or whoever else. But Aberdeen not too bad. Dundee United not too bad. Pretty decent.
Rangers and Celtic are also seen as the kind of money tie, if you like, and you were going to. I said that a few weeks back in the podcast when we were starting the Scottish Cup, and I'd love to have went to Ibrox, for example. I'm not even a Rangers supporter by any means, but I'd have loved to have went there as an experience. It'd have been incredible for any team at this level to go to a place like Ibrox or Parkhead. But Aberdeen, it's a good draw. Dundee United at Tannadice as well for Stirling Uni is a good draw. They'll get a few thousand in there, I'm sure, and it'll help the club. But and who knows what will happen? Drumchapel, I briefly mentioned there. They've got Elgin. Given what they've done this season, that's a potential winnable tie for Drumchapel, I think. Don't see why they can't. Elgin shouldn't be too much for them, but it's a cup. It could be anything. It could happen. It's two teams on the day. Who knows what will actually happen for them? But it's a great draw. They've already guaranteed themselves some money from getting through to that round, and who knows? I mean, if they beat Elgin, then you're in the last 16 or something like that, and you'll be potentially up against big teams.
Yep.
Moving on then, Cambuslang 0, Pollok 1, first win in the board for Stuart Maxwell, the new Pollok manager. They were unlucky against Ayr on Monday night on BBC Scotland, but Max will just be delighted to get a result and get a clean sheet as well, and so he's making his stamp on that squad. He's probably got a lot of work to do in terms of what he's got to do with that squad to get to where they probably should be. They've probably got quite a few players that they're probably going to be looking to move on maybe in the summer and things like that he want to start and build his own team. But right now it's all about trying to get as many wins as possible. They're right up there. They're by no means out of it, shall we say? And I think they've got to just now focus on the league. The distraction of Scottish Cups is over, and they can focus on the league and hopefully just get wins on the board.
I never understood why they never just went for it against Ayr after Ayr went 1-0.
Yeah,
it was
strange, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if Pollok have a lot of goals in them. I think we've kind of mentioned it before, whether if they are missing a sort of main forward or whatever, but it just doesn't seem like. I say that, and obviously they went out and done Annan in the previous round and got a lot of goals, but it was goals from like guys like Daz Christie and I think we've pointed out before, but they're probably missing like a Jordan Moore or someone like that they've let go previously. It's probably a really bad decision on the club's part. But then again, I don't know the background of that. Jordan maybe have wanted to, first team right away, and obviously Pollok had different players and maybe not been able to accommodate him. But yeah, I think to me they're missing a striker. Trying to think who they could go after if they were going after someone in January. It's probably going to cost them a fair bit of money, I suppose, as well, which is probably not ideal.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I agree completely. I think the forward areas is where they probably are lacking a little bit. Stuart McCann's obviously a great player at this level, and he's filling that void. But I don't think Stuart McCann's out and out centre forward. If you like, like you were saying, the goals are coming from the likes of your Daz Christie, Stuart McCann, Jonathan Lyon, Robert Buchanan. These kind of players. Adam Ford was been in and out of the squad. I don't know if he's injured at the moment, but he's a player that's obviously a known goal threat at this level. But has he kind of went backwards this season from what I've seen of him? And I don't think he's the player that he was. But I think if you're Maxi, I think you're looking at trying to get a decent forward in. But as you say, I don't know who you get. there will be money there for Max to spend. I'm pretty sure of that. I don't doubt that for a second. If he wants to go and if he identifies a good player, they're obviously unfortunate as well with Dylan Dykes having been diagnosed with cancer. He's a massive loss to them, and yeah, he's going to be out of the squad for a bit of time, and that's probably the striker that they brought in the start in January last year to maybe replace the likes of Jordan Moore, who did leave quite quickly from Pollock. I think they've got the boys at Callum Kroll, but I think he's from the 20s originally.
Yeah,
He's kind of in and out of the squad, but I think the thing about Pollock is that they demand success, and they probably don't got a lot of there's not a lot of kind of giving youth a chance at Pollock. I think that's something that you can notice quite a bit. You tend to see Pollock kind of youth players moving on to other Premier League teams at a later date, or moving to other teams in the West because they're not given the opportunity at Pollock. So I guess with Maxi coming in, there may be a freshness there. They might maybe identify some players that he can get, but I don't know where he goes in terms of what. I was starting to wonder a little bit about Will Sewell at Stenhousemuir. Was it maybe not working out for him? But he's got bagged a goal yesterday back in the side for Stenny. So he's probably not a player that that's going to be available this season. Certainly, we're looking at probably Aaron Healy as an option from Athlete. He's gone to Queen's Park. So Callum Graham, a player that we just talked about, another player who was at Pollock and for whatever reason left early, and he's banged them in for fun at Meda. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Pollock get on. But it'll take a bit of time for Maxi certainly to bed in and see what he can do there. Next game then in the West Scotland Premier League was Petershill 2, Kilkenny Rob Roy 0. First defeat for Rob Roy since Maxi. I keep saying people's nicknames, I hate that. Stuart Maxwell moved to Pollock. They also got a win the week before after he'd left, but good points in the both up for Petershill. They've also got a new management team that have came in fairly recently, starting to put a bit of a stamp on what they're doing there. Still bottom of the table, still miles out of it for me, and I think still going to get relegated. But they just need to try and get some wins on the board.
It was a bit of a shock because we said last week we didn't really expect much from Petershill, but that's a really good win over a Rob Roy team that was doing really well. Obviously, we know that Stuart Maxwell's moved on, but fair play to Petershill. That's a decent victory. It's whether they can build on it, obviously, and again, I probably still have reservations, such like yourself, Ben, obviously, of whether they can actually get out of that sort of relegation zone. It's going to be very, very tough.
I think the thing for the likes of Petershill will be is they have played all the league games. They're up to date in terms of matches. There's a few teams there towards the bottom, including ourselves, that have only played like 9-10 games in the league so far because of cup competitions and what have you. Rob Roy and another team that are a team that have played all their games, and certainly from that perspective, it feels a bit like the table is quite false in that sense, and there's still teams to be levelled out. You look at Largs, another team that are probably sitting off in a false position. Glenafton the same. Rob Roy, I think, another team that I would say that are in that boat. But yeah, the worry for Rob Roy will be is the fact that Stuart Maxwell has left, and there's going to be a change there. And I don't know what their plans are for bringing in a new manager. Are they going to bring a new manager, and are they going to potentially give the assistant a run at it? Maybe, but yeah, it'll be a watch this series. There's a lot of football we've played in the Prem so far. Second last game then of the weekend is B Juniors 4, Largs Thistle 1 victory for B, second the table just now. Bit of controversy, I think, from what I've seen, Chris, on your beloved Largs Thistle. I've seen Stuart Davidson, the manager of Largs, was pretty vocal on Twitter last night about some decisions that referee Paul Timmins had made.
Shocking, Honestly, worst penalty decisions I've ever seen. And I know I do have a wee bit of a bias towards Largs. They were 1-0 up in that game, but they've been outdone by the ref. The two penalties, you can actually see them on Twitter yourselves if you look hard enough, but so soft. And I know it's one of those ones where we're talking about referees again, but again, one game out of however many we've covered again. So, but the shocking, honestly, I'm not even making it up. It's so soft. Probably, I know a lot of people. I've not been watching the World Cup as you guys know, but it's horrendous. I mean, what chance have Largs got when they're getting like it's so soft, man? I mean, one of them was just literally Josh. In fairness, I think was pretty much. I think there was a bit of contact, but he was going down way before the boy even touched him. And then there was another one in the box where, like the slightest bit of contact, it's horrendous, a horrendous decision. But in fairness, I think we've heard the referee was poor overall anyway, not just at them two decisions. So maybe have been hard done by another situations, but certainly those two penalties have just ruined the game, and Largs have no chance to get back into the game once Beef have that bit of a lead. Shocking. Honestly, the penalty decisions were horrendous. Probably two of the worst I've ever seen, and I'm not even exaggerating.
I haven't seen the highlights yet of the game. I know someone posted them in one of my media chats last night, but I'm going to plan to watch them a bit later on tonight. But yeah, I think from what I've heard and what people have told me, it's been two pretty poor decisions, and it's probably on the balance of the game, as you say at the time when they were 1-0 up and the penalties come, and it just totally affects the match. But be delighted to get another win on the board and just going about their business quite quietly, sitting second top, as you said. And
I didn't want to take anything away from Beef. Obviously, they've probably, they've done well to get the win there. But I have no doubts that the penalties probably changed the game.
Yeah, Chris Strain's doing a fine job there at Bede, and he just knows how to win. He sets teams up to win matches, and that's what he's doing with the players he's got. He's going about his business well, and I only think that'll improve, because I think as more players become available, he'll always be looking to strengthen his team. So, yeah, decent result for Bede. Final game then to look at. We'll quickly gloss over this one. It was Clydebank 5, Coen Rangers 1. Thanks for watching the official catch-up, and thanks. We'll see you all next week. Cheers.
I watched the stream, obviously. Brockett messaged me and said, if you're serious about watching, here it is. So I got that fired up at 2:00. I was actually I wanted to see Clydebank actually, because I hadn't seen them in a wee while, and it's obviously easier for me to watch a stream than going through to the west, as you know, and especially this time of year with travel and whatnot. But there was a second reason, obviously, I wanted to check out Kilwin and making sure that you're often kind of, we've hit the post, we've done this, we've done that, to see if you're being less than biased. But it was a horrible day for Kilwinning, as you know, Ben. You witnessed it yourself. I don't really have to say too much. I think the only positive, I guess, is Craig Gordon in goals. He's not the biggest keeper, which I know, but he's pulled off. He's probably stopped it from being about 7-8-0 or 7-8-1, I should say. No the biggest keeper, but he's certainly reflexes, flexible, really good. He was probably the man of the match if it wasn't obviously Nicky Little, who's had an absolute stormer against you. He's one of the goals, in fact, 2 goals that he scored. Obviously, he scored one from the spot as well, and he scored 4 altogether. But one of them was just amazing. For almost the halfway line, he's chipped Craig Gordon, and it's probably a wee bit unfair on Craig, because he did actually have a really good game. I know he's conceded 5, but probably not his fault. Goal with it. I think probably the best goal I've seen this season from Nicky Little, the one that he's scored almost from the halfway line. I think that's probably goal with the season contender or whatever. You've just called Nicky Little, and we know how good he is. We've talked him up before. How good he is on his day, and he's just been on fire in that game. I think I was impressed with another boy that I don't really know much about. I think he's came from the amateurs, from what I remember. Alan Kelly on the left wing. I thought he had a really good game. But overall, Clydebank have just the Buffs in spells were really good. I think there was just after the second half, maybe 5-10 minutes, when then Clydebank just took complete charge. I think Mark Miller, probably a wee bit fortunate not to get a straight red card for his penalty. You disagree, of course, but it's one of those. I think Clydebank could have had a penalty probably about 2 minutes before that. It was close, and the ref no giving it. But look, it's going to be tough, whatever I say, because it's obviously our Buffs, Ben. But Clydebank fully deserve a victory there. Nicky Little, amazing. And I think one thing I did notice, and I think it was mentioned, is he seems to be playing more forward this season. I've noticed. He certainly looked more like a proper forward. We've always kind of described him as maybe a number 10 or something like that, but he certainly looked like he's more of a forward in that game, and I think that's been one change this season that Gordon Moffat's done, is he's pushed Nicky Little forward a wee bit more, and it certainly helped him yesterday against the Buffs. What are your feelings? Would you disagree with anything I said?
Nah, I think from our perspective, I think we've started the game well. Clydebank have started the game quite poor from my perspective. We've capitalised on that in terms of their poor start. We've started well. We've got the goal through Thomas Collins. Thomas Collins probably struggling a little wee bit to get goals recently, so it was good for him. It was
a good finish as well.
Yeah, to get on the score sheet, absolutely. He's been playing up front with Dylan Mackin. Dylan's obviously a different type of player that probably Thomas is used to be playing, and Thomas is probably having to do a lot more of the work that goes unnoticed from our perspective, and he's perfect foil for the likes of Dylan, and normally they work well together and getting goals. But once Clydebank get into the game, you see that the first goal that he scores it's an absolute crack. It's a great pass from Lee Gallagher into Nicky Little. At the time, I thought it was offside. I was standing on the line with the linesman, but in hindsight, I've seen a couple of clips, and Robbie Torrance is playing a one. I didn't really see Robbie further back. I was thinking of the line being on Kev Nicol, and I kind of said elsewhere, it was probably one of those ones for me that was like one of those VAR situations where the head, the shoulders is offside, but the legs aren't, and if it had been VAR, it would have been. But Robbie's actually fucking about 2 yards on, keeping on one side, So it's a great pass, a great run, it's a great finish from Nicky Little, and that's what he does. But at half time, we're getting there 1 each. It doesn't feel like a bad game. It's been pretty even in that half for me. We've came out second half, as you said, starting the second half pretty well, and just one of those ones where you lose a goal. It seems like the heads go down. There's a bit of a collapse. Start to panic a little bit. Marquis obviously gets sent off for Robbie tackling the boy to the ground, and I've seen some footages of that, and I don't know if it's actually a penalty. It's outside the box when the foul starts.
It was close. I think he gave it because I'm sure 2 minutes earlier, a similar incident, and
you said that, yeah. But I think I've seen some good footage of it last night, and it's outside the box. It's not a penalty. It's a free kick. Still a sending off, 100%. I don't doubt that. Second yellow, he's off 100%. But the decision to give the penalty is poor. The ref can't see it from his angle. He's got a player standing right in front of him, so the assistant's got to support him there, and he hasn't done. Ultimately, you go 3-1 at that point. You're probably gambling a wee bit to try and get back into the match. You're struggling, and then Kenny Marshall sets one up on a plate for the only guy in the league that can zing one from 45 yards, and Nicky Little, and you can't do that, man. That's just an absolute basic mistake that is not good enough at this level of football. It's just literally a pass to right, and Nicky just has to look up and see Craig Gordon off his line, and we know that he can do that. That he's done it probably
loads,
near enough 10 times in his career. I think even just at Clydebank, he's probably done it about 5 or 6. So he's absolutely capable and knows that he can catch players off guard, goalkeepers off guard when he gets the opportunity. He's done that. It's absolute screamer as far as I'm concerned. Marky Miller's free kick's still better than that one, as far as I'm concerned. The other week, but I did love the footage that was put up last night in the on the live stream from Clydebank, where the commentator's giving it an absolute spank of the monkey or something like that. I had to laugh at that. It was good on him.
I like the nicknames. What was it? The paper hankies and all that sort of stuff. It was
aye, that's but yeah, from our perspective at that point, it's 4-1. We've made some changes towards the end, and the boy Connor Higgins has scored a header against the fucking tallest guy in the park, like almost, Jack McCallum, and I don't know how he's been out jumped there.
It was too easy, that one.
It's just not good enough defensively for us, and I think I'm not saying anything here that's not dishonest or behind anyone's back. I think that the manager knows what went wrong. The players will know that themselves. But just for context, I think the thing about, I've seen a lot of stuff in the last 24 hours about our team selection and the players, and their own players been playing and their own players in positions and stuff like that. But what I think people have to remember here is that those players have played in games who have won and had good performances defensively. I think of like Trent and Musselburgh, draw against Pollock, a couple of cup games as well where we've played well. So the players are not bad players. They've had a bad day. Similarly to the bad day we had against Auchinleck. The Glenafton games, one where it was the opposite. The forwards weren't doing it on the game against Glenafton. We struggled a wee bit, but I think that performance will make the changes in the team, and people will get their opportunities. We've got some players out in loan. We've got guys on the bench that aren't getting a lot of game time. This will be their chance to come in and try and stake a claim for the jersey, and hopefully we can sort it out. The bigger problem for us is that the forms up. All these bad results are coming in the league. We're doing all right in the cups. We're getting by in the cups. Yeah, granted, we're probably playing lesser opposition in a lot of these cup matches at the moment. Musselburgh and Trent aside, but we need to start getting wins on the board. Everyone knows that. We all agree that as a club that needs to happen. But I just think it's important not to lose sight of where we're going and what we're doing here. It's a new team. It's a new coaching staff. There's been a lot of change within the committee as well in the last kind of 6 to 12 months, and we're all learning and we're all trying to get this right. And we're not. I don't think we'll be in a bad shape. We're not going to win the league. I think we know that. I think that is probably beyond us at this point in time. But I can't see how we get relegated. I think we'll have a good run at the cups. It's not quite panic stations yet, like the way some people were kind of go on last night.
It was a bad day at the office. It really was. And then
that's exactly what I tweeted when obviously I did the socials for.
The thing is, it's different. Obviously, Nicky Little was on fire. I mean, sometimes that's
unplayable that day.
Yeah, he was totally unplayable. And I think in that game, the first half, there probably wasn't a lot of chances. Going into the second half, it was still anyone's game up until Nicky Little happens. You know what I mean? So
exactly. I mean, I think you touched on Alan Kelly and the other one was Connor Higgins. Both players coming in for Drumchapel. Amateurs, good players. Really good finds by Moff. I think both players are adding a lot to that side, and Clydebank a decent side. They obviously went through a rough patch at the start of the season, so every club does it. I think that's the thing here is that it's going to happen. It's football. We've only lost 5 in the league rather than but we've played Auchinleck Talbot, we've played Darvel, we've played Pollock, played Clydebank.
All the top teams basically.
Decent sides, yeah. We've beaten Arthurlie. We lost against Troon, which was at the start of the season. We were a bit disappointing. The Glenafton one's a freak result. We should be winning, but I think we'll be okay. I think there's no need to be panicking, no need to be pressing any panic buttons or doing anything knee-jerk the way some people were chatting last night and things like that. Just let's calm down, let's take stock, let's see where we're at, and keep trying to build on this, and hopefully we'll get out of it soon. Next, final thing to talk about then is the Junior Cup, Scottish Junior Cup that took place on Saturday. We'll quickly look at the results and some of the talking points from that. Gartcairn 1, Rutherglen 2, Cumnock Juniors 0, Auckland Talbot 0, Cumnock winning that one on penalties. Probably that's the one that's a decent result for Cumnock, and obviously both teams that really see the Junior Cup as important. But I think Brian McGinty said it last week in his post-match interview. They don't fear Auckland anymore, and I think that's a lot of teams will feel that way. Playing Auckland, they don't feel them. They got through in penalties, but they're just obviously happy to get through. Next one then, Shots Bonaccord 2, Athletic 2, Shots winning in that on penalties. Larkhall Thistle 1, Aberdeen East End 1, and that was decided on penalties for a Larkhall Thistle win. Hurlford beat Troon 1-0. Dundee East Craigie 1, St Roch's 1, Dundee East Craigie winning that on pens. Carnoustie Panmure 1, Glenafton Athletic 3, and the one that's probably got a bit of a talking point around it is Bells Hill Athletic 2, Kilburnie Ladeside 2, Bells Hill Athletic winning that 2-1 on penalties, and Kilburnie manager Tommy Malloy resigned after the match as well, which is a bit of a surprise for me. Kilburnie are just outside the promotion spots in the league at the moment, but Tommy deciding to chuck it on Saturday after the match. Obviously, the Junior Cup's an important thing for the likes of Kilburnie. I know the likes of Gordon Ronnie's quite passionate about the juniors and the Junior Cup, so to lose that and get put out of that is probably quite a sore one for them. But it's a strange one. There is the resignation straight after the match. Well, that's it then, pretty much it for us on the official Catchup podcast. Thanks as ever for watching. Remember, check us out on all the good podcasting websites, official Catchup. We're on YouTube as well. Do the like, subscribe, all that good stuff that you can do. It helps us out. We don't do this for any sort of money or other validation. So if you do want to do that, hit a like, hit a subscribe, ring that notification bell, as the mad YouTubers always say. But thanks for listening or watching, and we'll catch you all next week. Cheers.